G'day guys, let me tell you guys a quick little story. After I finished high school, I started working, and at the age of 19, I finally saved up enough money to buy my first car. And that was this Mazda Bravo. Now this four-wheel drive opened up a whole new world of possibilities for me. I could finally go forward driving. So I picked the car up on a Friday, so I was gonna go forward driving on the weekend. I mean, how could you not when you just bought your first forward drive? But I'd been reading forward drive magazines for a couple of years now, and I knew that I had to get some basic gear to go out forward driving. So by the time I paid for the car, the stamp duty and the insurance, I think I literally had $460 in my bank account. And with that money, I went and bought myself my first snatch strap. This thing is still going strong after all these years, probably because I don't actually use it that much. A couple of bow shackles, and my first set of Maxtrax. Now, I think at that point I literally had $50 left in my bank account, but anyway, I have never regretted buying these. In fact, about a year or two after I bought these, I bought my second set. And I've got to use these things over and over again. I have no doubt that they have paid for themselves, and I still can't fault them. I reckon they are one of the best products on the market. But there's only one problem with them, is that these nylon teeth can actually melt off if you accidentally spin your tires on them. But Maxtrax have taken an awesome product and made it even better. Around the start of 2019, there was a couple of articles going around talking about the latest product from Maxtrax. Maxtrax with aluminium teeth. And a month ago, they were finally released on the Maxtrax online store. And I can't wait to check these things out. All right, let's say goodbye to wrecking nylon teeth. Now, when you think about it, with these tracks, because they have aluminium teeth, I think they should actually be more grippy onto the tires. So I think that's going to be one of the best things about them, to be perfectly honest, but let's check them out. Oh, check it out. Is that a work of art or what? So one of the coolest things about these aluminium teeth is the fact that if you accidentally damage some of them on a rock or something like that, you can actually replace them. For instance, the ones here on the ramp are the most important teeth, because if you're stuck in sand, you know, that's what the tire is going to first have to come into contact with to get some grip to get you out of the situation. So you always want to have nice teeth on here. So let's say, for instance, that we've damaged this tooth here and we want to replace it out for one of the teeth in the center of the board. All you got to do is grab the tool and undo the tooth. Just like that, we've popped the tooth out. Now all you'd need to do is grab a tooth from somewhere else or get a replacement tooth and just stick it back in. And then just flip it over and tighten it up. And just like that, you can have fresh teeth on the ramp, which is the most important part of the recovery track. That's enough talking for one day. Let's get out and use them. I found this mud hill here. Now, it's nothing too hectic, but I'm sure if I leave my diff lock off and pick a bad line, I can find a situation to try the Maxtrax. So let's give it a shot. Well, this could be a little bit harder than I thought it would be. Okay guys, well I managed to get the car stuck. It took a little bit more effort than I thought it would, but let's try these Maxtrax out. I'm pretty sure it was this front left tire and the back right tire that was spinning, so we're going to put them under here. And we'll put the second one under this wheel here. All right, let's give this a shot. And just like that, we're on the move again, but it's probably worth mentioning that you can actually avoid the warranty by using Maxtrax on rocky surfaces like this, but that nylon's so tough that it's never stopped me. Well, I had a quick look at the footage and it seems like these aluminium teeth work really well. The second the tyre started moving, it just gripped the teeth. There was not even a single bit of wheel spin. Now, Maxtrax are good in mud, but where they really shine is sand driving and sand recovery. So let's hit the beach and see how they go. Just got to the start of this track, so I'm just about to drop the tyres down and then we're going to hit the beach, and there's also some sand dunes down here as well, so I'm sure we'll find plenty of opportunities to try out the Maxtrax Xtremes and see how the alloy teeth hold up. Let's do it. What an awesome view, awesome sunset. Fantastic time of day to get stuck, eh? So I was trying to cross this little gully here and it was just a little bit deeper than I thought it was. So I'm kind of hung up on the tow bar and that wheel's just spinning, and it's pretty much the same on the other side. Just hung up on the back and that wheel's just spinning. So what we're going to do is dig away a little bit of dirt from in front of the tyres and chuck the Maxtrax under, and I reckon we'll be straight out. Alright, so now we'll just chuck these onto both sides. The chances of me getting bogged with 10 psi on the tyres is pretty low, so I'm just going to air up a bit. I reckon if we go up to 25 psi, that should do it, hopefully. Alright guys, well I've managed to get the car stuck. I mean, obviously we're not really stuck, we could just quite easily reverse out of the situation. But what I really want to test out is to see how good these alloy teeth are, how well they actually grip the tyre. So we've got the front left and the back right tyre spinning. So ideally, if you had 4 Maxtrax, you could put one under each tyre. But in this case, we're just going to use the 2 Maxtrax Xtremes under the 2 front tyres and see if we can just get ourselves out that way. The car's on a bit of a hill, so obviously a bit of the weight's going to be at the back, but it's just going to be an interesting test just to see whether they spin at all, how do they grip the tyre. So let's get straight into it. Normally when you get stuck like this, you would clear away the sand in front of this tyre to give it every chance of getting out nice and easily. Today we're going to leave it as it is so that we can really test out the Maxtrax. I just want to emphasize that the point of this test isn't to see if Maxtrax work. We know that Maxtrax work, and if you don't believe that they work, well, you probably didn't use them right, because they are fantastic. What we really want to see in this test though is how well the new alloy teeth grip the tyres. So let's see how we go. Now, if this was a real recovery situation, for starters, you would not have your tyres as hard as I did. Having the tyres at 25 psi does not help one bit here. And also you would want to turn on any traction aids that you have, like diff locks or electronic traction control, things like that. That was actually a really interesting test. When I was sitting in the car, I was like, nah, the tyres are just spinning and we're not getting anywhere. But when I just looked at the footage, this Maxtrax actually kept getting pulled further and further under the tyre. So that's pretty awesome, because normally like the tyre would just spin on the nylon teeth and you wouldn't actually get anywhere. Well, you can see that even though the tyre was spinning, it was actually gripping the alloy teeth really well, it seems. So admittedly we didn't get out, but what I want to do now is just clear the sand from in front of that back tyre and see if we can still get out just by using the 2 front Maxtrax. So all I'm going to do here is just clear away the sand from in front of this tyre. We're going to try the same exact test, not change anything else, and see if we can get out this time. When you're using Maxtrax, the second your tyre starts spinning, you should just stop, reevaluate the situation, reposition the Maxtrax and try again, because you're not going to get yourself out by sitting, spinning the tyres. That's why it says on the Maxtrax, no wheel spin. But in this test here, I was just doing some really destructive testing just to really test out these teeth. How does that saying go? Do as I say, not as I do. Well, I gotta say, guys, that was a very interesting test. I mean, it had everything working against it, like the heel, all the weight being on the back wheels, and in the end, all I had to do was really dig out a bit more sand in front of that tire, and we managed to get out. But what was really interesting was looking at the footage and seeing how it just kept trying to grip the Maxtrax. Like, it was amazing how these teeth just want to keep gripping. Like, nylon teeth work completely different. But what I really want to have a look at is see how the teeth fared after that punishment. You wouldn't even know. So some of the anodizing has come off, the black anodizing. Besides that, you wouldn't even know that I was spinning my tires on these. And I just want to say, guys, you should never do what I was doing. I was literally just mucking around, having a test just to see what would happen, because if you actually keep spinning your tire on these, you can actually damage your tire. So another good reason not to spin your tires, but I was just testing. Now, what I am curious about is if I try and get myself stuck in the same situation and use the Maxtrax Mark IIs, see how they would handle it. So let's just quickly try it again, see if I can get myself stuck roughly the same position and go again. Let's try out these Mark IIs and see what happens. I'm pretty sure it's a very similar outcome this time. The front left is spinning and the back right spinning. So it's fairly similar. So I think it'll be a fairly fair test. So to keep it fair, I'm gonna clear away the sand in front of this back right tire, just like last time. I'm giving this test a completely unfair advantage here, clearing the sand in front of the other tire as well. It's very hard to say that this situation is identical to the last one, but we'll just see how we go. It'll be interesting to see if there's a similar result or if it's different. I'm just gonna dig away a little bit more sand, see if that helps. I think it's diff lock time. Well, that was a really cool test because I was quite surprised how even when the tire was spinning on the Maxtrax Xtremes, they just kept getting pushed further and further into the ground. Now, admittedly, the Mark IIs did as well, but not quite as much as the Maxtrax Xtremes. So I've got to say, I'm very impressed with them, and I spun my tires on them. The teeth are in absolutely perfect condition. You should never do that, by the way. I was pretty aggressive on my tires. In fact, I did do a little bit of damage to the front left one, but it'll wear out in a couple of thousand Ks, doesn't really matter. But the coolest thing about them is that in the past, you'd usually be a bit hesitant when you're lending these out to people. Like, you see someone stuck on the beach, you'd rather give them a snatch instead of letting them use your Maxtrax because they might just spin their tires. You don't have to worry about that when you have the Xtremes because you can spin your tires on them all day and all you gotta do is wreck your own tires. So that's one really cool thing about them. All right, let's just stop this video right here. I feel like a lot of people would be commenting right about now saying, hang on, you didn't easily get out of that situation. Maxtrax don't really work. But I really want to emphasize the point of this video that I just wanted to test out how good the teeth are, because that's obviously what's new. Maxtrax have been around for ages and they're well proven. But if you guys doubt how good they are, let me show you guys all of the old footage that I have of all the times that they have saved my butt. Let's do it. So let's start back in 2012. I was really new to forward driving. I'd only had the car for a short period of time and I'd got myself stuck on the beach at the high tide mark. Let me show you guys how easily I got myself out of this situation with 4 Maxtrax. I was so glad I had 4 at this stage because they just got me straight out just like that. Piece of cake. Okay, so the next situation. This is the most bogged I have ever got myself. I tried driving through all this seaweed near Esperance and I was helplessly stuck. Now, this wasn't the time that I actually managed to get myself out. I don't have the footage of when I did actually get myself out, but it was a combination of using the Maxtrax and a lot of digging. But eventually, we got out. Now, what's other situation that Maxtrax are really good for? Well, this hill here, we had a bit of an issue because you couldn't really get a good run up at it. So we just put Maxtrax the whole way up the hill, and just like that, bam, we just managed to get straight up the hill. It was awesome. Now, what if you don't make it to the top of the hill? Well, if you're almost at the top and you just need that extra bit of help, again, Maxtrax are just fantastic for just getting you that extra little bit up the hill. Now, what if you've got to the top of the hill and you've completely overshot the hill and now you're dangling off the side of the hill? Well, again, Maxtrax are fantastic in situations like this because you can actually extend your footprint, and then the car's got more stability. It's less likely to kind of slide and do things like that. Now, here's another situation where we use Maxtrax to really give the car a bigger footprint. My friend got himself into a bit of a pickle in this situation here, and the Maxtrax really helped to stabilize the car. Another situation when they're really handy is if you need to lift your car up so that you can change the tire or something like that, but you're on sand. Now, here I've used 2 of them, and I managed to jack the car up so that I could actually turn the tire. So really good for that situation. But here I only used 1, and this thing bent like a banana. And it still, when I took the jack off, it just completely came back into its natural shape. That's how good the nylon is. And another situation is here. They can wrap around your tire and they will just bounce right back to being their natural shape. Like they're just so bent here, and they just, just pop back into how they were made. How about this situation here? My friend's got a really low bull bar and he just kept smacking into the bank. So we just got 8 Maxtrax, 4 on each side, made ramps for him. He got up no dramas at all without smashing the front of his bull bar. And last but not least, you can actually use your Maxtrax as a sand anchor. So there's no point carrying around a sand anchor if you've got Maxtrax. I've just used a tree strap and 4 Maxtrax here, and I was actually able to winch the car up using them, which is pretty awesome. So that's why I'm so passionate about Maxtrax, because they have been there for me and my mates from the very start, and they've always worked. Like, the nylon on them is just amazing. You can bend it backwards and it just pops right back. And as far as recoveries go, if you're just using Maxtrax, it's a nice, safe, slow recovery. There's no kinetic straps flying around through the air. It's just nice and slow. All right, guys, let's get back to the video. So you guys already own a set of Maxtrax Mark IIs. Is it worth upgrading to the Maxtrax Xtremes? Well, I'd almost say not really, unless yours are looking really, really poor. Like if you've worn all your teeth on, hey, it might be worth upgrading to them. But if you've got a good set of Maxtrax Mark IIs, just keep them. They're still one of the best tracks on the market. Personally, that's what I reckon. You guys don't have to agree with me, that's fine. Now, if you're buying your first set of Maxtrax, like if you're someone who knows that they're gonna be into forward driving, like it's not a hobby that you're just gonna give up anytime soon, if you can fork out the extra money, I would definitely go for the Xtremes, because the way I look at it, it's a lifetime purchase. Like the nylon on these is just insane. Like I've had these for almost 8 years now, and they're still going strong. And if you keep them out of the sun, they will last forever. So if you want to invest and just use them over and over again and never have to worry about burning off teeth, I would definitely go for the Xtremes. Even if you do damage a tooth, you can just replace it, which is pretty sweet. Well, what about the cons? Well, the price is going to put a lot of people off. So the recommended retail price on these for a pair is $500, which you might think is pretty insane, but it is Australian made, which is pretty cool. And I'm pretty sure that they don't have a whole stack of minions in their workshop putting these teeth in by hand, because they're put in way too perfectly for that. So they must have some kind of robot or something. So the fact that they're injected molded and then a robot puts the teeth in, you can just understand why they cost as much as they do. And anybody that says you're paying $500 for $5 worth of plastic, if you're just about to comment that, then go for it. I always find those comments pretty funny because most people just don't know how much injection molding costs, I guess. But anyway, Maxtrax Xtremes, should you buy them? if you got the money, definitely. They are a fantastic product, and I reckon these are gonna last me for years. Now, there is one other con about the Maxtrax Xtremes that I forgot to mention, and that's the fact that if you don't have side steps on your car, when these flick up, and they do flick up, it happens all the time, it can actually damage your panel under here. So if it's the Mark IIs with the nylon teeth, it's not, I mean, it could still do some damage, but when they're alloy teeth and they flick up, they could do a fair bit of damage. So that's just something to keep in mind with the Maxtrax Xtremes if you don't have side steps. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and feel free to make up your own mind about whether you think they're good or not, and comment down below what you think about them. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you guys in a different video. See ya. Seek adventure!